What's up, you guys? This is Brother Bobby from Literal Gym Bros, and today I wanted to talk about a little bit about OCD and how it's affected me in my life as a young man. Now, I'm no OCD specialist or anything. This is just my experience, so take this as you will. I personally think OCD is in a lot of people that aren't diagnosed because, man, we're having a lot of impulsiveness in this world today, specifically intrusive thoughts that we tend to think are believable. I was diagnosed with OCD at age 9, and it was so extreme that I would wash my hands like 30 times a day. I would get so scared of being sick and throwing up that I would check labels on food stuff, and then it eventually led to anorexia because I wanted to control my weight. But like anything bad that happens, we can create a story and a testimony from it. So if you're intrigued about OCD, we first got to understand, like, what is OCD? OCD is specifically intrusive thoughts that we think are believable. So you have obsessions, which are unwanted, distressing thoughts. Then you have compulsions, which are repetitive behaviors to try to alleviate anxiety. And a lot of these intrusive thoughts, specifically for me, started in my younger years and developed more in my teenage years. And these intrusive thoughts can feel very real, intentional, and sometimes dangerous. And a lot of times we struggle to figure out, is this OCD or is this reality? Now, this is exactly what happened when I got diagnosed with anorexia. I had to be hospitalized twice because I couldn't recover from the disorder, and it took a span of 5 years to fully snap out of that mindset of, I need to starve myself because it's the best thing to do for my body. The reinforcement loops get stronger and stronger in a negative way. So I had the intrusive thought of, man, I'm overweight, I need to lose weight. Then you have the compulsion, which in some cases is throwing up for bulimia to get that little relief. But in my case, my relief was starvation, skipping a meal or 3. Then when it's satisfied, the brain learns, man, this ritual works, but not the way you expect. It's a negative training mechanism that ruptures our way of thinking. And during the younger years, the brain is highly sensitive to learning new patterns and behaviors. Coincidence? I think not. So, between ages 12 and 25, you're dealing with identity crisis, social pressure, and in some cases, academic stress, putting OCD on top of it, which amplifies doubt, guilt or responsibility, fear of judgment, or harming others. And the result is chronic shame, guilt, and emotional exhaustion. For me, 10 years ago, I was suicidal. It got to that point. Not because I hated life. I had a really good life. I just didn't want to deal with the disorder anymore. I remember I used to get seizures from lack of nutrition because it got that out of hand. Not to mention, when you're going through OCD, your identity and self-concept get distorted by these lies. You start asking yourself, what if I am a bad person? What if I really need to do this? What if I did that without the best intentions? You start having doubts about who you are. You have the confusion of thoughts versus identity. And in some cases, fear of one's own mind. Now, I bring all of this up because I was very isolated. All this leads up to isolation, which is what the brain feeds on in a way. I remember during summer break, there were times where I would just stay in my room all day, all night, weeks on end. Why is that? There's a secrecy to that. Your brain wants to feed off the isolation to then hinder your self-esteem and doubt, to then lead to more consequences. And then this stems to depression and suicide. You see, OCD is more than just fixating on napkins on the dinner table. It's a real disorder that is not talked about enough and that affects so many young people's lives, including myself. And it all comes down to one feed, one fix, one reason, one trigger. So how do you combat this? In a lot of cases, it's a cycle of how we respond to those thoughts and understanding your own cycle. OCD is very different with a lot of people. If yours is intrusive thinking like anxiety, you gotta retrain the brain to think, why am I anxious or nervous about this specific thing? If it's instant gratification with impulsive spending, you gotta practice delayed gratification and not giving into that. The brain will eventually learn after a period of time of not giving into the impulsive gratification or not feeding the anxiety more that it's gonna retrain and create a new pattern. This stems growth. I've been diagnosed with it since age 9, like I said, but I still deal with it today, even on medication. I'm gonna give you guys this brief story where from 2020 to 2023, I bought 7 cars. No lie, bought 7 cars. And this last car I've had, the last car I got was an Elantra, which I paid off last year. So I paid it off in a year. I bought it in 2024, paid it off last year. I've owned it for 2 years now, which is longer than any car I've ever owned. And I've wanted to get another car again. I've wanted to go back to that old pattern. But by owning the car outright, by holding it longer than I've ever held any other car, I've been able to save more, deal with my thoughts better, and live a more healthy life with no debt. This is a true example that your thoughts can deceive you. They're not always real. They're not always legitimate or as legit as we think they are. Sorry. But if you think you are struggling with OCD, contact someone immediately. I'm telling you, I see a therapist to this day that he has to retrain and guide me to understand, like, is this the right thinking? I still have to deal with that at 25. You can't always trust yourself in every situation. You can't. So if you just stumbled across my video, I hope you guys got something out of it. If you are dealing with OCD, comment below, let me know. We're in this together. We'll fight the good fight. And we have to realize we're in control. We can't allow deceptive thinking to take control of what we already know. If you guys want more experiences on my OCD, comment below, leave a like on the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.